Welcome to the Blue Cafe. We bring you stories of faith, love, and devotion. Yeah, just kidding, please help us grow by hitting that like button. Now on to the story. Are my shared percentages wrong/accurate? Family problems/discovery. My dad and I got our results back and we only 29.2%. Shouldn't it be 50%? It says he's predicted to be my half-brother, which is impossible. My cousin had also tested with 23andMe a while back and we share 24.6%, which I think is high given we were first cousins. 23andMe predicts us to be half-siblings as well. My dad and I also share the same Y haplogroup and we look so much alike, so he's definitely my dad. I'm really baffled at the moment. Is there any way the percentages are wrong? I can't think of a genetic relationship that would explain what we're seeing. Please help. Update. Your uncle is your biological dad, is what people are getting at. You destroyed this guy's family! !1!11/s. I don't know if /s is appropriate here. This kid's family is actually in tatters because of this. Yeah, but it isn't necessarily his fault. You're right. It's his mother ducking uncle's fault. I see what you did there. And his mom, also guilty for keeping it hidden for 19 years. Not going to beat around the bush. Your dad is your biological uncle. Your uncle is your biological dad. Your mum may have got up to something funky. However, the comment below suggests a sperm donation may have occurred. It's not a ridiculous idea. Infidelity may be common, but it doesn't apply to every situation. It's also within the realm of possibility that the uncle was a donor and his dad is sterile. Obviously that's less likely, but I don't want Op to immediately take a bat to his uncle before he's had time to process this. That's fair, I'll edit that just in case. Jumping the gun isn't a good idea. Too late lol. TIFU by destroying the entirety of my family for only $99 few throwaway account. We've all been seeing the recent craze of DNA testing and whatnot, so my dad and I decided to jump in the bandwagon and we bought 2 from 23andMe. We got our results back a few days ago and I went into the DNA relatives section to check out my matches. At the top it listed my dad as only sharing 29.2% DNA with me and being predicted to be a half-brother, which is impossible. This didn't make sense to me since we also shared a paternal haplogroup and we just look so alike, so he was definitely my father. My cousin also had taken the test a while back and she shared 24.6% with me, also predicted to be my half-sibling. We're supposed to share around 12%, being first cousins. I couldn't think of a genetic relationship that would explain what I was seeing and I had doubts in the accuracy of the percentages, so I made this post on r/23andMe, asking for help. Basically, the shared percentages are extremely accurate and highly unlikely to be false. The only realistic explanation for what I was seeing was that my uncle, my cousin's father and my dad's brother, is my father. Reality hit me in the face like a flying bag of bricks. All the dots lined up and I felt a sense of loss. I sat in my room for an hour just in shock and then I had a feeling of anger come over me. I needed some ducking answers. Without even thinking, I rushed out of my room and confronted my mother downstairs. My mom is a businesswoman and is often away on business trips. She had no idea my dad and I had done one of these tests since she was away on a trip and just got back. My mother and I never had a traditional relationship. She was always focused on her work and my dad ended up mostly raising me. My irrational self didn't even sugarcoat it. I asked her if she cheated on dad with Uncle David, name changed for obvious reasons. I have never seen the color drain from someone's face so quickly. She looked dumbfounded and then mumbled, "What kind of question is this?" Of course not. I told her everything, the test, percentages, DNA matches, all of it. Shit hit the fan. My mom fell to the ground crying, begging me not to tell dad. I left her there and went back into my room. I called my cousin, now half-sibling, and told her everything. She ended the call screaming, "Dad, now Uncle," then came home and stumbled into my room asking what's wrong with Mom. I told him everything too. He didn't say anything after calming down. He left the room and I locked the door. For the next few hours, I heard my entire family fall apart outside my door. My parents got into a heated argument and my grandparents rushed over to see what was going on. My aunt-in-law and David showed up shortly later and I'm pretty sure I heard my dad and David get into some physical fight. Utter chaos. I feel like ducking shit. It's not my fault, but I can't help feeling that this is all because of me. If I had spent my ducking birthday money on something else, none of this would have happened, but another part of me is glad to know the truth. I'm too scared to go outside. I don't even know what the outcome was. The only noise I hear in the house now is the occasional sobbing coming from my mother, and I am sure my dad is out of the house. Duck my life. TLDR, Mom and Uncle, both having spouses of their own, ducked, made me, and proceeded to not tell anyone. I take a DNA test 19 years later and it all comes crashing down. I've locked myself in my room and I'm pretty sure my family has ceased to exist outside. Congratulations/you/help23 and this post has been voted by our community as the Duck Up of the Month for. As a reward, you've been given gold, special flair, and a permanent entry into our master list of best Duck Ups. Call your dad, make it clear you still see him as your father could really help him out. I'd say the dad is the main victim here, with the double betrayal and the fact that his offspring is not truly his. That probably shakes something deeply engraved by our evolution. As for Op, I totally understand your anger over the lie, but consider the ducked up fact that you wouldn't exist if it hadn't happened. Macron /__/Macron. Yeah, his brother ducked his wife and made his son and lied about it for 19 years. Not sure that I could ever forgive either of them. The kid you raised is your son, so you make it work with him, but the wife clearly knew. I'd have to talk to the brother and see if he knew. Another way to read the situation, if the cheating didn't happen, the family wouldn't have shattered. Is it wrong to ask for an update? Very curious how everything turns out. Your dad realizing this isn't your dad but your uncle, grandparents now involved, it's all such a weird situation. Your dad realizing his isn't your dad but your uncle. And your uncle realizing his isn't your uncle but your dad. That one is still questionable. He probably knew. It's very possible he didn't, his mom would have been sleeping with both at the same time. It's not like he would have looked radically different with that change in paternity given how close the different fathers would have been. He would have known it's a possibility, so he had a heads up in this situation at least. He can probably still do math and at least knew it was a possibility. Happy cake day, although I don't think this is very happy. The only problem is, can you trust his word? 19 years and no one bats an eyelid that entire time, and it seems the mother has obviously remembered who she was banging. No reason he would have forgot, but seeing this story makes me want to buy one now and test my luck. I have some old people advice for you, if you want. Here it is. This may be impossible to imagine right now, but this may end up being the best thing that ever happened to your family, if only because truth has a way of coming out anyway. Finding it out like you did and inadvertently ripping the lid off of it now, in your youth, prevented anyone from being able to lie their way out of it, which, as hard as it may be to imagine right now, is everyone's best hope of coming out of this with their relationships and marriages intact, if that's even possible. Including you. It's much harder to take this kind of news at 50 than it is at 19, so you've done yourself a favor as well by getting it over with early. Because of you, your kids don't have to live the lie that you did, and you can be done with this drama in your youth. I know it all seems crazy right now, but you will find the new normal, and it will be okay in the end. There is peace for you in this, though you still have some storms to weather first. Do not let anyone put this on you. Not now, not ever. Including yourself, which may be hardest of all. The fact of the matter is that if you hadn't gotten the DNA test, someone else in your family might have, even your own children in the future, and ripped open the same can of worms. This situation was not of your making, and you owning it only prevents wounds from healing. Truth is the best disinfectant, and is the only hope of saving these relationships, if they can be saved at all, so don't you dare let anyone put this on you. And if they do, correct them in a way they won't easily forget, because blaming you and or the DNA test is not just a lie, it's outright cruel and evil. Responsibility belongs where it belongs, and it may be up to you to remind others of this in the future. Don't hesitate to do so. By insisting on truth, you will be doing the entire family a service, and bringing the quickest possible end to the drama. Lies only stretch out the agony, and it doesn't matter whose lies they are, so don't own it. Any of it. If you can, in time consider forgiving your mom and bio dad. Shit happens. It just does. And you don't forgive people because they deserve forgiveness, nobody does. You forgive when and where you can just because humans make mistakes, you do too, and it's the best way to save relationships. Shit happens, for all you know it was a drunken one-nighter they've both felt shitty about ever since, and what's happening right now is more than enough punishment, if you think about it. So when you're good and ready, not before, and if it seems right to you, consider forgiving them. As others have said and I can only reiterate, your now stepdad is blameless in this and has gotten his entire marriage thrown into chaos overnight. Be there for him, in any way you can. Ditto your half-sister cousin. You won't regret it. Also, unless you want to hear redneck family tree jokes for the next several years from your friends, be very careful who you tell in real life. I know you need support and people with whom to discuss this, just be careful. Let it go on Reddit all you like, it doesn't matter, but in real life you can't put this genie back in the bottle. If it gets out, but try to keep a lid on it until you are ready to talk about it, for your own sake. Finally, I have to tell you as an older person that this thing has only just started. You have miles to go before this thing winds down, and unseen change is yet to come. But you're gonna be okay, and so are they. Of all the evils in the world, this is one of the lesser ones, and everyone gets to live at the end. As hard as this may be, and I don't underestimate it at all, try to keep it in perspective, because that helps with sanity over the long run. I wish you well. Good luck, kid. As an older guy that has had some crazy revelations come out in my own family, this is the most solid advice in the whole thread. You and me both, man. You and me both, D. I did forget one thing, though. I forgot to tell /you/help23 and that at some point he is going to question the better part of his existence, because so much of his understanding of the world is not what he thought it was. And what I would say to him is this: regardless of the circumstances of his begetting, he is exactly what he is supposed to be. When you lose a big honking cornerstone of your understanding of life, like who you thought your parents were, that simple fact can be easy to overlook. But no matter how he got here, he is, and he is absolutely right to be here no matter who screwed whom, just as the universe intended. And that's all any of us can really lay claim to anyway. TIFU update: by destroying the entirety of my family for only $99. Precursor to the whole event. Original post: thanks for the support guys. Means a lot. Back to where we were. I eventually left my room, called my dad, and he was actually at the hospital with my grandmother. She couldn't handle the situation and had a heart attack right when she went home. I knew my mother was still in the house, but I left her there, again, without saying a word, and went to the hospital. I got to the hospital, saw my grandmother, she's in stable condition, and then sat down with my dad to talk. First thing we told each other was that this situation didn't change our relationship. He was still my father and I was still his son. I got the confirmation of my dad and David getting into some altercation. Dad told me he ducked him up really hard. My mother had told my dad that she was drunk and David raped her. The only reason she had not told anyone was out of fear of destroying my father's family. Dad then suggested going to the police. She refused and then started to slightly change her story, making my dad doubt her claim. That's when David and everyone else came over. David claimed my mother was lying to save her own ass, and that they had consensual sex. As of now, my dad and I have no idea who to believe. He says his relationships with my mother and David had always been good. He's not sure what to do. David's wife is filing for divorce since this occurred after they were married. My cousin is holding up all right, although she's still pretty shaken up. My dad and I have been staying with my grandparents for the past week until we figure out what to do. Any advice would help. Thank you. Sorry if this sounds rushed. I typed this on my way to class. TLDR, Grandma had a heart attack. Mom claimed David raped her, David denies that. Cousin's mother is filing for divorce. Dad and I are staying with my grandparents for now. I hope you and your dad can get through this fine. I wish you guys the best of luck and stay strong. And Grandma. You didn't do anything wrong. These tests are not your fault. People are no longer allowed to get away with no consequences for their actions, even when those actions were long ago. I'm sorry this happened to you. I can't imagine what you're feeling over what happened in the past or how it will affect the future. What none of us wants is for you to place and accept the blame for actions you did not initiate. The people responsible need to accept that blame and responsibility. Extend yourself some grace. You deserve it. And cousin and aunt. Even if they didn't do anything wrong, it affected them as much as it affected Op and his dad. I just wanted to throw this out there. Your mom ducked up, but with due time do forgive her, even if your dad can't. She's still your mom and cared for you throughout your entire life, and provided your relationship wasn't an abusive one growing up, she does care for you. What she did is terrible, and even if you end up estranged from her, don't ostracize her to the point where she may develop mental health issues / choose to end her life. She's still your mom. P.S. I speak from experience. My mom left us when I was a teenager due to her depression, and I've always kept limited contact, but can't help to feel that her mental health issues have only gotten worse due to her losing her entire family and being out of touch with her only child. It might be an unpopular opinion, but as you get older you start to see things in a different light, and once people die, that's it, there's no going back to ask questions. Okay, fair point, but also the blame is not on Op should his mother come out of this situation with mental health struggles. Op is allowed to both need time from his mother, and maybe even never fully forgive her, without being blamed for his mother's mental health as a consequence of her choices. 100%. Op is not responsible for his mom's behavior, nor should he blame himself. Good luck, Op. There's no right or wrong way to handle this, but we hope in the end the most people that can be okay, end up being well. We hope that by sharing these stories with interested folks like you, we can help people recognize the signs of a relationship in trouble, and avoid so many of these heartbreaking situations yourselves. Have a good day or night. Wherever you are.